All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we have to refresh it in a moment. I'm fairly caffeinated with coffee and energy drinks, so I'm ready to go. We've got lots and lots of good stuff to cover today. You'd best believe there'll be some shucking. Anyway, let's refresh this and make sure that we're not talking to a brick wall. Yeah, with my elf shirt. This is from Thailand, actually. Pretty cool. Liz's dad actually gave it to me. Yeah, I didn't get to the live stream yesterday because, of course, we had, relatives over, and so it was a big to-do. I made deviled eggs, and I make them two ways. The standard way with paprika and the, fairly standard way with dill, actually, on top. I like them both. They got gobbled down pretty quick. And ate tom yum soup for the first time. Oh, my God, was it good. Definitely having it again with a fish and mushrooms. Wild gathered mushrooms, by the way. Here in the Netherlands, mushrooms are literally everywhere. You go out into any woody area with fallen logs and you're going to find a plethora of mushrooms. Just be careful. You might want to study a little bit about amateur mycology. I've wild gathered mushrooms before. This is just a rant before I get into the news. I'm going to take it a little bit easy today. I'm going to be chill. I'm going to be chillaxed with our spoon. I've gathered fairy ring mushrooms before. You can eat them raw, but they're not very good. They're kind of like an oyster mushroom. If you cook them, they're really good. Boletus, stuff like that. I love mycology. I used to spend my other kids spent their summers, fooling around. I spent my summers with a guide to woodcraft out in the woods, sketching mushrooms and finding out which ones were and were not edible. I think I documented 200 or 300 different species over the course of several years. Should have kept my sketches. Yeah. F YouTube 10.2. Thoughts on the political climate at the moment? It's a jovial one. We've got fun political news mainly today. Drew McTighe, what's your favorite color? I don't really have a set favorite color, actually. When I was a kid, it was red. Then later on, more green because I like botany. I like plants and stuff. I like all the colors together. Like, in a garden, you've got to mix it up. Although it is kind of funny to create a unicolored garden bed, so all of the flowers there are the same color. It can be a little bit overwhelming at times, though. I sort of like a cottage garden style approach where everything's sort of a hodgepodge. That's what I'm aiming for in the future. Lots of slate. I like that. Exposed wood and stuff like that. Sort of like a medieval garden or some shit. I do not see you live on Rumble, says Tech Gorilla. There is also an imposter on there. Oh, there's an imposter, Sticks, X, and Hammer? We'll have to fucking take care of that then. Joke's on them. I've got a direct line to the people that run Rumble, so not a great idea, dude. Yeah, no, I'm live on Rumble. I can see myself. As can over 250 other people. I like how it live updates the number of people that are watching much more quickly now on Rumble. They've overhauled, by the way, the look of the site. It's much better now. It's much more streamlined. By the way, we've also got other new tech news. We got to talk about BitChute and their update. That Manx guy sent $10. No comment. Thank you very much. Yeah. No, I like all the colors. What I want a big ass raised bed, like English cottage style garden. I want everything in it. Flowers, vegetables, fruits, all coexisting peaceably like fish and people after George W. setting aside seawater off of the coast of Hawaii. Base 04, how does one move to Netherlands from the USA? Is it a pain or easy? There's visa-free travel if you just want to spend 3 months at a time. That's basically it. You just get your passport. That's easy. Staying requires residency or special circumstances, ambassador, soldier, or whatever. I'm married to a Dutch woman, so for me, I get residency automatically. It's very easy. The Dutch are nice people. Virtually everyone speaks at least some English. The older people, a little bit less. Basically, anyone under 50 is fluent. It's a bilingual culture. Low crime, really nice atmosphere. Sort of a party zone if you're in central Amsterdam. Outside of that, you take it easy. Just grab a Heineken. Opinionated junkie. Sonny Johnson said manga are the real rhinos. Yeah. JP Cantrell, I love seeing the fight in the People's House. Yes, we will be talking about the Matt Gaetz and Mr. Rogers incident. Sebastian Monroe just got off work. Life's all good here. Hope you're doing well. Currently thinking about how to build my garden come spring. Maybe build the deck first. Now fuck the deck, just build more garden, or have a garden deck. You can have like a container garden on a deck and you can actually grow quite a bit in it. Make sure to use clay pots, no plastic. It is verboten, according to Clankdom. As little plastic as possible should be anywhere near your garden. Mine in Rutland has some lead in it, unfortunately, because I didn't have anywhere else to set up for target practice. First news story of the day, of course, Kevin McCarthy has been elected Speaker of the House. But he's been neutered. That's the good news. The bad news is you do have a technical rhino heading the Republican Party in the House. But he's been he had to sign off on so many concessions. It's not really clear how he's going to have much wiggle room to use his procedural powers to fuck over MAGA. It'll be much harder for him to do so. And of course, the GOP does have a slight majority in the House. It's likely to grow come the next election, trust me. So it's mainly good news. Matt Gaetz actually screwing Kevin McCarthy on, what was it, the 14th ballot or something? We got a moment on C-SPAN. Matt Gaetz voted present instead of in favor of McCarthy. I think they were expecting him to vote for McCarthy in the end. He didn't. And McCarthy actually wanders up to him. They're pointing at each other. They're having heated words. But then that other dude, I can't remember exactly, Mr. Rogers, I'll just call him. He came over and it looked like he wanted to lunge at Matt Gaetz, like physically fight him. He started wading in, like trying to get towards him. He had to be dragged off physically. I thought that was a funny moment. And apparently that has to do with C-SPAN in the interim when there's no speaker. Normally, House speakers force them to have the camera shot on someone who's talking. They've been recognized by the chair, basically, or on the room at large. So you don't get the up-close hot mic shot moments. But of course, you did the other day. And of course, it's trending literally everywhere. Everyone finds it hilarious. Yeah, Rogers had to literally be physically restrained. Just to be clear, by the way, isn't that insurrectionist activity? Effectively, looks like you're at least being aggressive towards, threatening towards another sitting member of the House. So yeah, they should bring back dueling for politicians, says Zombie Cartman. Yeah, that'd be cool. Senile Zeke, never voting Republican again. Fake opposition. They did hold out for a historic period of time, and there really wasn't an alternative because there was nobody else willing to stand that could have garnered the votes. I don't even care that McCarthy is Speaker as long as he's hamstrung, and he is. They've reverted to the old House rules that allow basically anybody to call up a vote of no confidence. He has pledged not to dick around in the primary system. That was an important one, along with other concessions. For example, and this is something that I pointed out, that if McCarthy were Speaker, we'd have to look carefully at who gets on committees that would be tasked with looking into Twittergate or something like that. He did pledge, and it is now in the House rules, that there will be members of the Freedom Caucus on those committees, if not running them. Therefore, you are likely to see Boebert, Gaetz, Taylor Greene, etc. Taylor Greene sort of waffling around like Ted Cruz, actually, during this particular process. So I'm sure she'll be getting her appointments by the Uniparty specifically, which is hilarious. But they will be there. They will actually, the committees are not just going to be Kevin McCarthy taking a bunch of wishy-washy rhinos and putting them on committee. Massey will be involved explicitly. He's already gotten that concession as well. So that's going to be pretty good. Opinionated junkie, if Trump croaked, DeSantis will have legacy status. Yeah, if Trump were to croak tomorrow, DeSantis would become the presumptive GOP nominee at this point. Although there are others, but right now Trump is in, he has not croaked, and so he is the presumptive nominee. I like when people say, like Bobby Walter, Trump is over. No, we'll be talking about that, actually. Be talking about the next plank in his platform. The Grizzly, lol, silly naive sticks. Don't you know that insurrection can only be done by people the Uniparty is against? It's double minus bad to think otherwise. Yeah, I've noticed that. It is pretty funny. Yeah, Pad Thai, Buddy Mac. Yeah, Pad Thai is great. And the shirt is from Thailand. I did not say it was made in Thailand. I don't know. It doesn't have a tag on it. It might be handmade, so So yeah, Kevin McCarthy is in there, which is okay because they've gotten so many concessions out of him. He's not going to have as much power as the typical House Speaker would have. That's good. Next news story, and this is, I'm just going to post Posobiec's link to this particular clip. You can go on Rumble if you're there and follow Donald Trump. Of course, he's active there. They've got a tie-in with Truth Social, actually, I think, still providing video services to them. This is his platform with regards to cartels. Now, this ties into immigration. You'll remember, and with this one, he knocked it out of the park. His first address had to do with censorship, Section 230, and Internet Bill of Rights, etc. That ticked all the marks. I give him an A+ for his very first plank at his platform. That was good. This one's up there. I don't believe in executing people for selling drugs, for example. I deviate from Trump on this. I'm not exactly in favor of the drug war entirely, just to be clear. You know, I used to do a few drugs. Can you imagine me? Really? You would have thought I was straight edge and shit. It was a long time ago, but, you know, I enjoyed it at the time. Just saying, disclaimer, I'm not saying that you should do drugs, just to be clear. Anyway, Trump just announced he will order the U.S. military to declare the cartels enemy combatants and will deploy the Navy and Special Forces to defend the land and maritime security of the Western Hemisphere. Good. While I'm not interested in military adventurism, if you've got a willingly cooperating Mexican state, which they did cooperate with Trump quite a bit, to tell the truth, is interesting how Obrador had a different policy when Trump was in there. Now Mexico has gone off in a different direction because nobody respects fucking Beijing Biden's stewardship. Yeah, using the U.S. military to go after cartels. I think, didn't I suggest using weaponized incendiary drones to target their production facilities? You know, that's quick and easy. You don't even have to kill anyone to do it, potentially. You wait till the narcos are all, they're out drunk on the town, you know, having gotten some of their ill-gotten gains, and then you go and you blow up their meth factory. And as long as the Mexican government doesn't have a problem with it, I think that's more fruitful than going off traipsing through the Middle East or invading Afghanistan or any of these other adventuristic wars that we're waging. It's a non-state actor. They just label them combatants, and then you take them out. The Mexican government doesn't have the capability to do so. But in alliance with the United States, yeah, we could probably stop a lot of that fentanyl before it gets near the border. You know, of course, that enriches the Chinese government more than anything else. So we don't want to be doing that. I think it's a reasonable policy in the end. The funny thing is they'll call him extremist if they talk about it at all. Well, Donald Trump wants to send the U.S. Marines to go fight drug dealers. That's terrible. This is extreme. He hates brown people, basically, or something like that. That's a relatively reasonable policy when you think about it, especially when the southern border is shared with a country that is effectively an ally of the United States, at least on paper. Senile Zeke. Only way out now is to crush the Republican Party to dust. We got Pelosi 2.0. Concessions will not hold. Well, they're in the House rules. You can't change them unilaterally, so I think that they will hold. We'll see what happens. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to McCarthy for what very little that's worth. Whereas in the Senate, with McConnell, it's irredeemable. You know that he's going to do a shit job. With McCarthy, because he's so hamstrung and has such a slight edge anyway, but is majority leader, he may have no choice but to work with MAGA. If he flips around and says, well, I'm going to be a unionist and I'm going to work with the Dems, the neoliberals, he might end up getting his ass canned because of the new changes to the rules. So we'll see what happens. That's the hope, at least. I'm not hoping for bad things to happen. Yeah, I expect the possibility that they do with regards to McCarthy's speakership, but I'm willing to wait and see. Trust but verify. Jesse Smallwood, as great as the speaker situation has been, I would have been much rather this been done to McConnell. Yeah, that's a good point. I would rather McConnell have to face this than McCarthy. McConnell is worse, to be clear. Cucks Lives Matter. Lindsey Graham, heterosexual brother, attacked Gates. I don't think that's actually Lindsey Graham's brother. I think he did look a little bit similar, though. Yeah, you're right. Next news story, we've got an AstroTurf to look out for. Just to be clear, when people are rambling about Hakeem Jeffries right now, this is a lead up to 24 sort of situation. And it reminds me of something historical that happened many years ago. Do you remember a man called Barack Obama? Before he was president, nobody knew who the fuck he was. He was in a state senate, and then he was a single-term senator from Illinois. Why did he end up getting launched into the election in 2008? Because he made a keynote speech. That was his qualification. He happened to be better spoken than most of his contemporaries, and he was 30 years younger than Hillary Clinton, and so he looked more the part. That's basically the sum and substance. He didn't even win the majority of delegates. Hillary Clinton did. They chose Barack Obama over her because they were very worried that she would lose. Their worry was proper, considering the 2016 election. Of course, she's been shooed into the dustbin of history where she belongs with the other turds. They are trying right now, I can guarantee you, to have another Obama keynote speech moment. Hakeem Jeffries leads the House minority. They're going to try to gain a majority. They don't have great odds in 24 of doing that based on the political and economic situation, but we'll see. Hakeem Jeffries looks a bit like Obama, to be clear. He carries himself similarly. He's got the same coherent speaking mannerisms, but it's all sloganeering. It's empty bullshit for the lemmings. It's exactly like with Obama with his keynote speech. It sounds good unless you're actually willing to pick it apart and find out what the fuck he's actually talking about. Does the average partisan, Republican or Democrat, give a fuck? No, they absorb things passively. They don't have the time of the day to pick through the speech. They just say, well, it sounded good or it sounded bad, and how coherently was it delivered? That's all they care about. In that sense, he is effectively Barack Obama 2.0. They're trying it again. And one of the reasons is they don't want Biden. I think a lot of them suspect that Biden won't run. If he does, they may actually decide to take him out with Hakeem Jeffries, just to be clear. I don't think he could win in the end. I think he would lose in a general against Trump, DeSantis, any of the other qualified candidates. Of course, Bolton getting in. We'll be talking about that as well. Yes, War Walrus himself running a 24 candidacy. Analyzed it this morning. I'll do a little bit more in the live stream as well. While I don't think he would win, he does look the part. He does sound the part. He's an empty suit, reasonably young person, legislative experience, currently leading the House minority. He's got some clout. Who else is going to do it? Can I please ask people, looking at the possible Dem field, what do you have? Decrepit Biden, who is barely deciding 2 years in to visit the fucking border that he ruined. You've got Elizabeth Warren. She's on the old side. She's not well-spoken, and she's a serial liar, so that wouldn't go over well. You've got Buttigieg. He's somewhat better. He's younger. He's reasonably well-spoken, but he's transport secretary. And before that, he was a two-term mayor of Nowheresville. That's not really a presidential qualification. He, I think, is going to go more down the route of being perpetually in office as an appointee, basically a permanent cabinet fixture of whatever Democratic administrations exist over the next 30 years. You've got Kamala. She's less likable than Biden. Somehow is even more terrible on the border, despite being border czar. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries, I guess they're astroturfing him for a reason now, aren't they? They don't really have anyone else to run. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Dem primaries over the next couple of years. Let's see here. Null hypothesis. It's time we turn inward and spend blood and treasure on the United States, its people, infrastructure, energy, and security requirements. Yeah, it'd be nice to keep more of our money at home. We just sent $3 billion worth of Bradley fighting vehicles to the Ukrainians. To be clear, they're outfitted with anti-tank rockets. So, Transylvania 90, our Year Ukraine video. Another aspect of their authoritarianism is an attack on minority language rights aimed at the Russian minority, but that affects the Romanians, Hungarians, and Bulgarians there. Yeah, that is a problem as well. By the way, in related news to that, of course, a few days ago, Zelensky signed off on another act that effectively muzzles the press in the country. Well, if you don't have freedom of movement, you have impressment, you don't have free press. You certainly have attacks on the freedom of religion. Defender of democracy at some point becomes just a slogan and doesn't really boil down to other. Basically, I'm going to wreck the democracy, small d, that's here to prevent this other country from wrecking our small d democracy. Well, I mean, yeah, okay, then the tyrant tin horn that's in charge speaks Ukrainian instead of Russian primarily. What's the difference? Who cares? Chloroform. Got a plasma CNC table for my small business. Designed a Clankton propaganda sign in the style of the Spanish Flangists. I think you'd find it funny. Wondering if you're interested in a free metal sign. Yeah, that'd be funny. You can DM me on Twitter and show me what you concocted there. That's pretty cool. Edward Brown. Completely irrelevant to the topic, but I'm a knife nerd and would like to see that little blade to your right a little more closely. Love what you do. Yeah, this is, I've shown it off a couple times. Yeah, of course, Kitty. Shown it off a couple times before. It's a Napoleonic era French saber, cavalry saber. It was between this and a boarding cutlass. And the cutlass is a little bit more useful for indoors, but this was a little more fancy. And of course, it has a scabbard with it. So decided to get this. Freshly sharpened again, by the way. Blade's all nice and oiled up. Some people are saying I should use wax instead for older swords. Use that, but I didn't have any on hand for that. So yeah, Hakeem Jeffries is definitely being astroturfed. That basically is the news of the day as far as the Dems go. They finally found their man, potentially. Of course, he may not even be interested in the role. Matt G. Hammond, Gavin Newsom will make a run for president. He certainly seems to be gearing up towards that possibility. I think he's hoping that Biden croaks. Now, I don't think that he would be likely to get in against Biden directly. I think that he'd get rebuffed if he tries. But if Biden croaks or doesn't run, yeah, the field's wide open. It'd be funny to see Gavin Newsom v. Hakeem Jeffries. I think Jeffries would beat Newsom at that point. Eli, Happy New Year. This $50 is for every clanker that can't afford a super chat. We all appreciate your videos. Can you give me a cum drop is cool soundbite sticks? Nice oiled sword. Cum drop is cool? Okay, well, you've got your soundbite anyway, and I thank you very much for the $50. That'll buy a lot of diapers. Cucks Lives Matter. Have you or Liz visited Anne Frank's house? Yeah, I posted a picture actually in front of the Anne Frank house. I've never been inside because it's literally a tourist trap, which is ironic. But yeah, I've been there. I've seen the outside of it anyway. Mind of a Madman 69. Hey Sticks, I'm taking some of your advice from a previous video and dropping a vice and picking up a skill. Woodworking. Excellent. Woodworking's fun. I could never really get into it because I don't really like to be around saws and, maybe lose a finger. My fingers are a little bit important in my line of work, and my mom's more into the carpentry thing. She can fucking deal with the bandsaw. Next news story, as we previously mentioned, John Bolton announces he will run for the White House in 2024 against former boss Donald Trump as he blasts the ex-president's terminal decline. Bolton served as Donald Trump's national security advisor from 2018 to 2019, which was a mistake by Trump, by the way. I cede that particular line to people who have Trump derangement syndrome. If Trump had one goddamn weakness, it was in his hiring. His strategy behind hiring was all over the place. Some of them, like Michael Flynn, perfectly fine. Pence rubbed me the wrong way. Bolton, Pompeo to an extent, and many others. It was very hit or miss. If reelected, he needs to do better at assembling the people around him. Just go with the MAGA crowd. It's better to have a bunch of yes men patting you on the back than to have a bunch of people that are literally attempting to subvert everything that you do. Draven Ockloss, did you hear about the 2000 Social Security leak? No, I did not. Bunch of Social Security material was leaked. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's government that administers that shit. Do you remember the Obamacare website rollout by the longtime friend of Michelle Obama and how well that went over? By the way, the phone number was literally 1-800-FUCK-YOU. To be clear about the level of mental derangement that we're dealing with some of these people. That's really true. Reported on it at the time. I thought it was a joke. When I saw it first posted on 4chan, I swore up and down it couldn't possibly be real. It was real. Yeah. So here's my notation about John Bolton. I don't think this is a serious run. The idea, the problem is this. Within the Republican Party, you've got different groups of people. You've got MAGA. You've got kind of the MAGA light, like a Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene now, I suppose. You've got some blind egotists. I mean, even like Boebert, even though she's principled MAGA, she also likes a little bit of attention seeking. Then you've got like the Uniparty, and then you've got just the partisans. So regardless of ideology, they vote straight Republican regardless. Please name which group of these people would want John Bolton for the presidency. he's likely to stall out at maybe 2 points. Even in a two-man race against Trump where every TDS sufferer votes for him, he wouldn't even crack the double digits margin. He'd be at maybe 5 or 6. That's the long and short of it. I speculate, therefore, that John Bolton's not unintelligent. He's a very strategic person. He even comes out and brags about staging coups, although he doesn't specifically name them. He's one of the main architects of the invasion of and occupation of Iraq. He's one of the main architects for a period of time of what happened in Afghanistan. Whoops, yeah, those foreign policy chops. That's really going to prevail in the second presidential debate, by the way, Johnny boy. He's not unintelligent, though. He's clearly a smart person. He just chooses to use his intelligence for evil purposes. Do I really think that John Bolton thinks that he can win? No. Do I think that he knows that now, because the legacy media insists on not covering Trump and what he's doing, they're trying to shut him out, but they secretly want to talk about him, will they invite John Bolton on to shill his book? Yeah, as long as he pledges to say Orange Man bad and give him a tidbit about somebody telling him something confidential that implicates Trump in some way. He's going to make millions of dollars doing this. His candidacy is a sham. It's sort of like Bill Weld getting aboard with Gary Johnson for the LP back in 2016. Bill Weld is not a principled person, understood he was never actually going to be part of a campaign that would win. It's a Libertarian Party. They cracked 5 points in a half a dozen states, and that was historically a large amount. He knew this, but he's very good at deal making and making money. And that's why he joined. Made a shit ton of money for the LP, corrupted it in the process temporarily till the Mises people took over, but he did a good job. That's what Bolton wants. He wants money. He wants to sell more books. He'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. He'll make much money, and that's what he wants most. He's an older dude. He's in his 70s, and he's like, I'm going to have one last draw. I was a presidential candidate. I spent the entire time talking about how Orange Man bad. Didn't put forth much of a platform other than we need to bomb more third worlders, but hey, I got 2% of the Republicans to vote for me in a primary. Whoop-de-doo. Draven Auclass, January 6th committee released Social Security of the GOP. Oh, they did? No, I didn't hear about that one. Probably for a reason. Michael Torney, enjoying your analysis. Thanks. Thanks to you too. Let's see here. Yeah, so John Bolton's running for the presidency. He's going to be clear. He will be an also-ran. Nobody's going to take him seriously except he himself. And the legacy media, as long as there's no other more viable alternative challenger, he's the second person in the race. For that period of time, he can run the field with the legacy media. He'll have a field day of doing it. He'll probably be on the morning shows, by God, every fucking weekday. He'll be on special streams and podcasts. He'll be McLovin' it. Think of all the times he gets to mention that he wrote a book about Donald Trump. Wonder how much money overall he'll make. I give the over and under at a couple million overall that he'll be able to effectively embezzle. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, hey Sticks, in your opinion, would building and painting models, planes, ships, and fantasy figurines, etc., be considered a vice or virtue? I'm in the market for a new hobby and would like it to be a useful one. Doing that, painting models and stuff, if you can make it into a mainline skill, yeah, you could potentially market that. It's not a vice. I mean, it's not necessarily something that it makes a huge difference in the world or something, but who cares? I mean, does growing a clump of kale really make a big difference? No, but it's positive. Get your hands in the dirt. Yeah, get messy. Just don't huff the airplane glue. Don't be a Democrat. Next news story. Actually, that's the wrong link, I think. How did I end up with the wrong link there? Yeah, it is. That's from the morning's new tech exclusive, actually. Whoops. Just a second here. I got to get the right tab. I put the wrong link in there. Christ. I'm an idiot, as you can tell. And, of course, that's not linking me to anything. Jesus Christ. And I don't think that I have the link in my notepad file either. I'll have to grab it from Twitter. My apologies here. BitChute made an update, so we're going to be reading that out. If I can finally get to it here. Oh, come on. That's from the Give, Send, Go. But it basically talks about the same thing. They posted it as well on Subscribe Stars. Trying to find them there, but for some reason I'm not finding the link. USA, here we come. It's an update from BitChute. This is a new tech reference, much like Rumble just cleaned its site up considerably. BitChute is now making an update as of today. Update number 9. This is on the Give, Send, Go page. You can look it up for yourself if you want. USA, here we come. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and holiday break. Thank you to everyone who has supported us through this debanking so generously. They got debanked. Their bank won't give them their money. And thank you for all the wonderful and thoughtful prayers and kind words you have sent us. Now, they did manage to get the money from this campaign. So they're on a continuing basis, so that's not a problem. They're still haggling, I guess, with their main bank. Apparently, one of its partners was actually responsible for holding the money to investigate transactions. It's in the UK, so it's probably, unfortunately, not illegal for them to do this. However, they are now moving some of their structure. We are also considering all our next steps, which is to include moving some of our corporate structure for monetization out of the UK and into the USA, where we know we will have stable banking. There are, by the way, some banks that don't do the debanking thing. Some people were pointing out, well, you can actually be kicked out of your bank in the US. Yes, you can, but it's less common. And it's going to be, some stink piece caused a big bank to cut ties with Chase or something like that. JP Morgan, they've got problems in the U.S. Virgin Islands, so I don't know which one they'll go with and wish them well. The USA does not have the same high level of business risk with activists being able to completely debank companies, and we've already had senior people in U.S. banks reach out to say they would support us. USA, here we come. I have a feeling that more will follow after this. I have a feeling it won't just be financial in nature. Of course, they've also teased out that later this year, you will have a payment processor, live streaming, etc. from BitChute. You do have huge plans in motion. I've got a little bit of background on this, like behind the scenes, and it's much bigger than that as well, potentially. I have confidence that it'll go over well. If you, though, move your banking infrastructure to the US, why not move more to the United States? After all, you don't have to worry about Ofcom and the UK's wonky rules with regards to geo-blocking if you're a US firm, now do you? I have a feeling that there might be more up. I don't have any inside knowledge on that, but I'm just saying I have a hunch that that more will follow. The landlord harassment channel, McCarthy totally neutralizes the House advantage. Not totally, because he has been turned into a eunuch, basically. We'll see what ends up happening from there, of course. I'm too skeptical of him to be optimistic, but I'm also not black-pilled. I think that at least some progress can potentially be made. Transylvanian 90, as per Megadeth, peace sells, but Bolton ain't buying. The Joker, why is gay? I don't know what you mean. The Defamation League, make congressional caning great again. Also, send us your money on Bandcamp so we can purchase drugs. Yeah. I can't officially endorse such an idea. I'm assuming that you mean medication that you get in a pharmacy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Next, we got to talk about Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw shows his true colors after Tucker blasts him for calling McCarthy objectors terrorists. By the way, Sean Hannity also showing his ass. Crenshaw, Sean Hannity, to an extent Marjorie Taylor Greene, actually, one of the golden girls of the Trump uprising for the House Republicans, effectively cucked on day one and wouldn't stand with Gates, Boebert at all. She immediately reverted to voting for McCarthy, even though despite her objections, there was no actual risk of the Dems gaining the House or there never being a House Speaker. It was inevitable that eventually you'd have one and it would be a Republican. Then why not stick to your guns for just at least the first day of voting or at least the first round of voting? Make yourself clear, say, I'm voting no because I think there are better alternatives. I want more concessions. She could have, by the way, she's blasting Boebert and Gates right now. This is not about Crenshaw. This is about MTG. Right now, she's insulting Gates and Boebert and others and saying, well, they never added anything in there for me in their negotiations. And she's like peeved about it. You could have done that too. You could have said, hey, I'm a no vote on McCarthy unless I get this concession that I care about. It could have been, I want to be appointed to a committee because she's currently not on any because she was stripped of them. That's fine. You had that opportunity for days. Why didn't you do anything? Why are you blaming other people for not sticking their necks out for you when you refuse to even side with them? Why the fuck would Matt Gaetz say, hey, I know MTG fucking hates me, won't talk to me right now, But you know what? Yeah, I think that I'll pitch for her. She should be on the committee to investigate tire treads or something like that. Why the fuck would you bother? How dare she get salty at people that actually stuck to their guns, even if in the end most of them ended up voting for McCarthy. It's fine too. They got concessions. You weren't there trying to gain any concessions. Why are you salty about it? Dan Crenshaw is an ignorant moron. Eye Patch McCain, I call him. I think that that's a good one. He's just a warmonger. He's calling people terrorists for voting their conscience and or what their constituents literally pay them to do. That's according to him, this is meaningful. It makes sense. Look, you lost a week of housework babbling over who would be speaker. Is that really that big a deal? One single work week that you're not sitting there on your ass twiddling your thumbs because the House Speaker wouldn't have granted any concessions if he didn't have to? In the end, even Dan Crenshaw, who apparently is oblivious to this fact, gains more power potentially within the House because the House Speaker is not able to run roughshod over people like him either. He doesn't seem to understand this. He thinks this is a terrible day. Sean Hannity rambling at Boebert the other day. Well, why don't you knock this off? It's important to have a House Speaker. Oh, my God. Again, yes, it is. It's important to have a qualified speaker. Failing that, it's important to make sure that the unqualified speaker that you have to suffer under can't screw you too bad. That's the point. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Dan Crenshaw, Jesus. The time you take advice from him might be the last because he's nuts. Eli, this doesn't go out to sticks, but sculpture is great. Play with clay and make your own figures. Warhammer, Star Wars, D&D. Support small businesses by giving them a small, around $500 project. Yeah, doing sculpture and stuff like that is perfectly legitimate. By the way, I'm still pissed. Years later, I never got to use the pottery wheel when I was in school, in elementary or in high school. And I took the first level of pottery. And we're making like, shit, the stuff that your parents like because you made it for them, but really nobody finds them attractive. The only thing that I ever made that was reasonably good was a box, actually. That came out all right. The lid even fit on top. I surprised myself. It got broken, unfortunately. I made like a little platypus sculpture, shit that literally only the parent ever likes it. The other parents come over and they snicker at it. And then the other parents retaliate by going to their house and snickering at their kid's shitty artwork too. I'm sure that this happens regularly. But I never got to use the pottery wheel. Still pissed about that. Maybe I should buy one. Yeah, that sounds like it. I'll get into pottery, or that'll be the next skill that I learn. I'll make more shitty pottery that people can laugh at. Adherent of Lady Columbia. With the aging of the larger generations, there will be a point to which voluntary option or complete abolition of Social Security and Medicaid. Yeah, you should get rid of that shit. At the very least, there should be an opt-out for Social Security. Nobody should be forced to pay into anything like that. Michael LaRusso. Jeffries, though, he thought he was rapping on a street corner. Yeah, but think of who his audience is. Democrats. They loved it. They're trying to astroturf him as a 24 candidate now, which was predictable. Border agents beyond frustrated as Biden prepares to finally visit besieged southern border. Yes, the moment has finally come after literally 2 fucking years. Biden is finally visiting El Paso, but I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you in advance. He's doing this tomorrow. He's not visiting the actual border. He's going to meet with a few Border Patrol agents, take a selfie. There'll be a very astroturfed audience of people there. He'll take a couple questions and he'll fucking leave. How do you know this? Kamala Harris did this already, and she's the goddamn border czar. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the border. He leads up to this with several tweets the other day, actually, from the official White House account. Well, we need cooperation on the border. It's important to secure the border, but we have to be humane. And all these things you could have said for the last 2 years, you did nothing towards. Your idea of a compromise on the border is effectively a bill granting amnesty to over 10 million people while not securing the border. So what's the point? You don't secure the border. More people come. They'll come even twice as hard if they realize that they can potentially get amnesty at some point. That's why it should not be granted to the average person who hopped the border. There are certain classes of people that should be granted a residency status. If they've committed no crime, they've served the country in a military capacity, their families here, etc. They've learned the lingo. They're willing to pay a fine. okay, then you can put them in the normal immigration system. No line jumping, but they can be part of that. That's not the case for the average person that's part of that group, though. And there's no will or way to tackle the border crisis without slamming shut the southern border physically. So expanding the Trump wall. But they're not willing to do that, even though it would cost pennies compared to what we just gave to Ukraine a few weeks ago. It wouldn't cost $45 billion. $5 billion managed to get several hundred miles retrofitted to modern standards. $45 billion would complete the whole fucking rest of the thing. But they're not going to do that because they like human slavery. They like the trafficking. R.T. Huxley, all these thoughts running through my head. Arm on fire, veins burning red. Frustration is getting bigger. Bang, 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 pull my devil trigger. I think that's lyrics. IMB 4902, shout out to the Cancer Cure cover-up documentary, which I probably would not be able to actually describe in detail on YouTube under its current rules. Going for gold 85. That statement on Bolton's intelligence is what I've been saying for a long time. People say don't claim malice to what could be given to stupidity about politicians. These people know exactly what they're doing. They aren't dumb, they're evil. Yeah, well, some of them are dumb. Like Jeb Bush, I really do think has something mentally wrong with him. But George W., no, it's an act with him. He's evil. M, McCarthy is essentially a figurehead now, but that still is not good enough for the everyone is an FBI informant crowd. Yeah, so let them do their job and see what happens. Concessions were made. That's positive. They did stand their ground, and they forced McCarthy to be completely humiliated to get the speaker role. That hasn't happened. It's been 150 some odd years since somebody went past the second ballot. And as far as going past the first ballot, it was a first time in a century. He has been ritualistically humiliated. He doesn't have the will of a portion of his own party. He had to concede virtually everything that they asked for to get enough people to vote for him. He's still capable of doing damage, but he can't do nearly as much, and it'll be much harder to do it. That is an improvement. Give Gates and Boebert and the others credit where credit is due. They did what they were paid to do. Nobody was paying them to simply perpetually deny McCarthy the speakership when there was no alternative willing to run. Byron, he dropped and re-endorsed McCarthy. Jim Jordan's did that. I think Biggs did as well. If nobody else is willing to stand for the position who has the capability of getting the votes, you have to deal with McCarthy. But first, you extract as many concessions as you can. They did this. They did their job. They have my respect for that. Now we wait and see what ends up happening. Transylvanian 90, maybe MTG is pretending to be a rhino to infiltrate. No, I think that she's flown the coop, actually, unfortunately. And just think she's still one of the better members of the House Republicans. Still has more, I mean, she's better than Crenshaw, so. Established Lord Fred of Dankytown. Amnesty will make them come twice as hard. Sticks. Yeah. Anyway, please no more super chats here. Try to wrap this up a little bit quick today because it is a special stream for the weekend. I got to cook later. I'm making my special Cajun sweet potato wedges. Of course, extra spicy. Otherwise, they're no good. Very spicy. And also, since there's a big-ass thing of leftover rice, I was thinking, why not like put vegetables and meat and shit in it and basically make a fried rice? Maybe with egg. I don't know. You could put shrimp in it, I suppose. I really would like it with beef, but I need to marinate that beforehand. I don't have time, so we'll see what happens with our culinary delights of the night. So yeah, covered the news today. Pretty good, pretty good. By the way, less people watching because it's a weekend stream. It's about half of normal, but I noticed there's still over almost 1,300 people watching over on Rumble. Again, at a bare minimum, it's like more than 50% of those watching on YouTube, and I don't have nearly as many subs on Rumble. Although I think we're just about to hit 128K or something. In fact, it might have hit it during the stream itself. What are we at on Rumble? Let me check this really quickly. I'm fact-checking myself. Or I would if I could, well, never mind. Yeah, we may have already hit it. I can't see exactly. I'd have to expand the tab out. Eli, teehee, do not super chat. That always happens. Somebody always throws me an extra tip at the end of the stream, unless I end it immediately. It's become sort of ritualistic. I should tease it out, like say, okay, I'm ending the stream, don't send any more super chats, and then just launch back into it and do it twice. I can double dip. if I wanted to be a grifter. If I was a breadliner, you know, Starbucks and kale smoothies and shit, they cost a lot of money. I am at 128K, apparently. Excellent. Yay. Live update. Thank you, JME Will. Yeah. Rumble's pretty cool. You should get on there. If you're only watching me on YouTube, you're missing a video every day anyway. Get on Rumble, get on BitChute, get on Odyssey, get on Minds, go and interact and make content. Let's have some fun. Plus, it helps because when we decide to clank on somebody else, it helps to multiply the force used. Edward Brown, don't screw up fried rice or Uncle Roger will come. Yeah, no, I'm pretty good at making anything that's like stir fry, fried rice and stuff. I'm pretty good with that. I make good soups as well. Not so good at photographing them. Some people think my food sucks because it doesn't always look that good. Dude, I'm using a primitive phone in poor lighting conditions, and I'm not interested in arranging it on the plate to look pretty because it all comes out looking about the same in the end now, doesn't it? That's about all. Peace out.